supplies goes to the brain, really. The rest is for the rest of the body. So it's really important to have that and have a battery that's working well. So you get increased ATP, which for those, are up on your biology, that's your energy source. ATP is what you're trying to generate. As well as that, this is the image that depicts, you're starting to recharge your battery. So you plug in your charger for your battery, it's starting to recharge it. Okay, so we've got, biological evidence for this. This is just obviously a pictorial representation of what's happening. Other things. So other things is that you also increase particular proteins, like this protein is a neurotrophic factor, so it's a nerve growth factor. So that tells you what it does. Okay, so in other words, it potentially can repair or regenerate neurons, which again is a good thing for brain diseases, potentially, for recovery and repair. So it does that. And finally, on this side, I've depicted it with this sort of schematic, chaperones. Chaperones are like friendly proteins that you can stimulate with this light therapy. And we've shown, a lot of these HSP40, HSP70, very important stress-induced, because I class the light as mild stress, and a little bit of stress is good. Okay, it induces these protective responses. And that's what these chaperone proteins are. They're very important stress responses and very important protective chaperone proteins. That's why they're called chaperones. They help people and look after people and support, in this case, support cells, support neurons. And the other thing they do, they also reduce the amount of this protein aggregation type phenomena. Okay, and that's shown on this slide, which is when I saw this data and a student showed it to me first time. This is in an Alzheimer model, a mouse model of Alzheimer's, because only humans actually have Alzheimer's, no other species on Earth. So we do have to sort of make a mouse out, give them Alzheimer's to be able to study them, to develop therapies. So that's an interesting, you may not be aware of. So here, hopefully you can see, this is before and this is after treatment. You can see the staining levels have dropped generally, which is that's the stuff we need to actually target, not these plaques, because that's a bit of a, like I said, it's the end of the process. It's a bit of a red herring, but in fact it does reduce the plaques as well. But the important thing, it reduces this amyloid protein quite dramatically. Like I said, I nearly fell off my seat when I saw the result of this, okay? Anyway, so it's doing all the things you want it to do. It ticks all the boxes that I talked about in terms of aging. Obviously, you've got to demonstrate that it does something behaviourally. So this was our first study back in 2008 with my very gifted colleague down in Sunderland Pharmacy School, Abdul. We did this test. This is a spatial memory test with our unique testing system. It's actually a unique system because we can measure lots of different behaviours all at once. So we save on animals. So it's, we do need animals to test things, but we reduce the number of animals. We can do it all in one test. We can look at memory, motor, and anxiety all in the same system. So one set of animals over a long time can give us results. So this experiment demonstrated with this strange strain of mouse that we accidentally fell upon. So this is a strain of mouse called CD1. They're the cheapest, that's why we bought them. Funding is very important in research. So this was actually the cheapest strain. It turns out the male version, sorry boys, the male version of this mouse had very poor memory at very young ages. Okay, it's nothing to do with humans, it's just that particular strain. And that was lucky for us, so we can then test whether our treatment would make a difference. And it did. It basically converted those mice, those old, prematurely aged mice, middle-aged mice, to a young mouse in terms of its memory performance. So that's, again, a fall-off-the-seat moment. That it actually made a difference to memory, relevant memory. So he made a clever little mouse. So this is just a quick summary of all the effects. So it's really just to emphasize multiple effects. It's not a single target. We're not trying to just mop up a bit of amyloid when it's too late, which is what most of the drugs are doing at the moment. Completely not going to work, although huge amounts of money have been pumped into it. Complete waste of money. Sorry about that. I know, the press was quite big on it recently, so I don't want to sort of dampen down your expectations. Anyway, you've got an alternative now because, as I said, it does all these things. Tick, 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 in terms of things that we want it to do. Okay, the proof in the pudding. So this is introducing Gordon, who's the very tall South African GP from Peterlee that knocked on my door, who I met this morning to pick up this, to show you all. And this is Abdul, my slightly grumpy behavioural. He doesn't like to be his photo taken. In fact, he didn't want his photo taken for this latest press release we had. He said, no way, no way. He's very modest, he's an incredibly bright guy, but he's very modest. You can see how grumpy he was for this photo. Anyway, so this was our sort of, as it was described, Star Wars helmet, the prototype back in 2008. Okay, and this is our first guinea pig. Anybody recognise? The older members of the audience will recognise this is Terry Pratchett, Discworld, famous Discworld author. He was our first guinea pig because he contacted us, heard about our research, and tried it for the rest. Actually, he had very severe dementia, the very, very quick acting dementia, and he used our helmet throughout the period, and he actually managed to write 4 bestsellers after he started. I'm not saying that's n equals 1, you know, obviously, but, you know, I'm not saying we made a difference, but it certainly, he was very happy to use it. So that's our first. So this is the prototype now, at least the UK version. There's an American version that's a bit more snazzy. But this is actually the version that was used in our recent clinical trial for Alzheimer's patients that I'm going to show you the data from. This young lady, she'd like me to say that, this is one of our candidates for our aging study. She doesn't have dementia, but she used it in an aging study, and we showed improved memory and sleep, even in middle-aged individuals like myself. Okay, and that was just an 8 to 12 weeks. So the strategy, you use this twice a day, 6 minutes, press the button, 6 minutes, delivers the light for 8 or 12 weeks in our studies so far, okay? You don't really need to understand this, but this is, you can look at the physiology of the brain and the effects. So I've put the arrow here, so for example, here in this delta pulse, this is the oscillations, the physiology that's happening in your brains as you listen to me, hopefully. Yeah, these things, and hopefully you'll remember what I'm saying because of the action of these oscillations, okay? So you can see here, in this case, you've gone from a very cold, low activity to a boost in activity in that particular oscillation. And similarly, got other things here. We've gone reduction in activity. This is, you don't need to know, like I said, delta coherent reduced. That's a sign of improved attention and memory. Okay? That indicates, okay, it's doing something physiological. This is what it's doing behaviorally, which is the most important thing for you guys to see. So this is an example of a test. An Alzheimer's patient, a mild to moderate Alzheimer's patient, would have difficulty drawing a clock. You might think that's a simple thing. But actually, when you have Alzheimer's, this is the sort of thing that's difficult to do. So this is before and after. I don't really need to show you describe the difference. You can see it for yourself. So it's an individual only 5 weeks treatment resulted in that sort of a improvement. Okay, the other thing I'm going to show you in terms of data is a very commonly used memory score, the so-called Mini-Mental score, which is a classic sort of memory test for a range of memories. And this is the sort of graph that depicts what happens. So most of the guys, hopefully in the audience, are up here in the 30 to 25. I'm probably in the 25 and dropping, being a little bit older. Yeah, so you go from sort of early diagnosis, 25, so the scale is 25 to 0. Okay, I mean 0 is obviously the end, but so you got mild to moderate and then severe down here. So the drop-in number indicates the reduction in memory performance. Okay, so this is again a fall off the seat moment when my colleagues in America, because this trial was done in the US, UK didn't want to know. US did it, FDA approved. Okay, so these 2 arrows are just to show you the things to focus on. So this is ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's very important. It works equally well, which is unusual for a lot of treatments and therapies. Okay, you can see very easily by eye a highly significant increase. So in other words, you're improving your memory performance